So welcome.
Yes.
So this is an attempt called Pupils of Cinema and discussion with the tallest students. So let me start in a very simple format, sir. You were born Penmet Ram Gopal Verma on the 7th of April 1962. That everybody knows. How was your childhood, the earliest memory of cinema in your childhood, and how does it influence you even today? Is it vivid?
See, my earliest memory is when my uncle, my mother's younger brother, he used to be a huge film buff, and he for some reason he always wanted company when he goes to see a film. So though I was a very little kid, I mean, normally people go with people of the same age, generally speaking, you know. But he had this strange habit of, for some unknown reason, that he will take anybody, and probably I was the only guy available to come to see a film with him or whatever reason. So when he used to show me these James Bond films or the Wild West films, like for a few dollars more, and my earliest memory was when he took me to see a James Bond film. He said there's a guy called James Bond. So I used to keep asking him every time a character comes, he goes James Bond, na? So he burst out laughing, and then he was telling my mom and dad, this is what he's asking. You know?
How old were you then?
I'm sure it can't be more than 8 or 9, I think. I mean, that kind of a stupid question only I don't think about 10 one can ask, you know. So I think that was one part, and mostly used to take me to see English films at that particular time. And later on, of course, post RGV 1975, I think it was. Then slowly it also became all these commercial hits like this, you know. And before that, at one point of time, I remember the first time I heard the word director is when we went to see this film called Ankur, Shambenigal film. In the end of the film, this little boy throws one stone in anger about whatever the oppression of the landlord towards the oppressed class, you know. So the movie ends on that note when he throws this stone, signaling some kind of a rebellion is going to start. Okay, so my uncle said that is director's touch about the hitting the glass. That is the first time consciously I remember hearing the word director, you know. And then I think in the teens, there was a mixture. Like a lot of times I said, I was never impressed with the great classic like Orson Welles or Battleship, Potemkin, whatever was supposed to be the benchmark of cinema as seen by critics, as seen by film scholars and all that. Mostly because my uncle used to take me to see films on the pot boilers, you know. So my view of cinema was never about storytelling because of that. I think fundamentally it became that, you know. If I saw Adi Ramdu, let's say 17 times at that point of time, and probably sometimes I might have seen it for the heroine's boobs, sometimes I might have seen it for the elephant or the forest or NTR's dialogue or various things like that, and never for the story, surprisingly, you know.
So there was a time, I remember, when we were shooting Coronavirus and Murder, you happened to make a mention of Adavi Ramadu, and you said somebody shared some story point of view, and you said, I did not notice it.
Correct. Yeah, when I was trying to get a break, much before Shiva, I was just hanging out in Annapurna Studios. So one day I happened to be in Venkat Aknini's, Nagarjuna's brother's room. And Satyanand and Jandyala, they came to narrate a story to Venkat. So Venkat asked some doubts about it. So they said the audience feel very strongly about something which belongs to them, their country, their culture being taken away by somebody else. So which is the reason we put that point in Adi Ramdu and why it became such a big hit. Now me seeing it 17 times, I couldn't understand what the hell they're talking about. And I know it by heart. I know it shot by shot, dialogue by dialogue. And then when I thought about it, I remember there's a line of NTR where it says, Bharat Desham Sagarvanga Chipkogal Gandhapchaka Chintagar Forest Dangaram. So because some sandalwood is being smuggled to foreign countries in Chintagar forest, our hero goes there. So they thought the film became a hit because of that.
Oh, okay.
And probably that's one of the very few boring scenes for me in the film. And that didn't even register. Actually, that's the point. But having said that, I realized something. The film probably would have been made because of that line. I can easily remember them going and telling NTR the story. This is about this forest where smuggling is happening of valuable goods like sandalwood. And you go there in a disguise to stop it. The film definitely would have happened because of that.
That was the plot.
NTR must have agreed for that line. But why we saw it is not because of that. Yeah.
So you would say that the first contributor in your film, in your film journey, knowingly or unknowingly, or it was your uncle.
Definitely.
Okay. So early in life, as a boy, you have school friends, your parents, cinema. In retrospect, now that you look back, how much of your friends, your family, your uncle obviously, but your school life, I'm not bothered about the college, school life, how much of all this influenced you in retrospect? Now do you say that yes?
I would definitely not give any credit to my parents or my family because they were pretty much disconnected to my interest in cinema.
Okay.
If as a person I can give credit, I definitely think my formative years is definitely my uncle.
Okay.
By default, that is.
Okay.
And because we used to come and discuss, and then he used to buy these records, gramophone records, and playing the music of that. That whole process was a very, very long, for a lengthy period, that influence was on me. And why I started getting fascinated with cinema definitely was that one thing. Post engineering college, I would say, okay.
I will come to, I just wanted to phase-wise understand. Now, sir, in college life, obviously there's the influence.
See, but the incredible thing is, now that you said it, I'm like every person, every one of us, in the formative years, it is just an accident. If I didn't have an uncle like that, I don't know if I would have become a director.
Very true.
Yeah. Or if my uncle would happen to be against cinema, and you took me into some kind of a serious study of something, I probably wouldn't have been interested in cinema.
Sir, I remember in my case, when I was a very young boy, the words that still ring in my ear is that, and Joe Bradley saw her for the last time, and his right foot lazily took 3/4 of an arc, pushing his inertia out of him to leave her for good. And he walked down the aisle. That was the ending of Roman Holiday, and that was the lullaby my father told me.
Yeah.
So in the formative years, I must have been 5-6 years old then.
Yeah.
So the formative years, I understand that somehow or the other there is a strong influence, and you don't know what would have happened if they did not exist.
Yes, yeah.
So in college life, there's the influence of friends. I'm sure in your life, you mentioned one person in particular, girls, fights, conflicts, groups and gangs,
Yeah.
Does that reflect in your films?
Yeah, for sure. There's no doubt about it. No.
For example?
See, the one more thing happened in one more film which kind of really had influenced me is Enter the Dragon. Now, Enter the Dragon, basically, I was so impressed with Bruce Lee. I tried to learn martial arts, and after getting some, sprains and all that, and some near hairline fractures, I gave up that. Okay. But my fascination with that started, and I used to adore fighters, like boxers, and those days in Hyderabad, all these Dada elements, either were into boxing or into freestyle wrestling, kusti, whatever they call. So I made friends with a lot of these Dadas during the phase of the Enter the Dragon, and that automatically it kind of continued in the context of that when I went to Vijayawada in engineering college. So my fascination, because more or less I lost interest in studies by that time, So I was fascinated with these bullies and strong arm people,
I was coming to that.
And then in Vijayawada, obviously, because of this Vangavidi Ranga, Devne Nehru culture, it just went a little beyond. And parallelly to that, I met some highly intelligent people there, and I got into philosophy also at the same time.
Who was the gentleman?
Satyendra. So Satyendra was my junior actually. He was in the mechanical branch, and because of him, first time I realized the power of questioning whatever you are told. Most of us, we are into belief systems. We rarely question what is told to us. To question everything what is told to us, to give a logical answer so that I understand rather than blindly follow, is what I first observed from Satyendra. And he was the man who introduced me to philosophy. You know, because his room was full of these books, and how a guy, a 19-year-old guy in Vizag could have had a collection of Immanuel Kant and Descartes and Karl Marx and Ayn Rand and Arthur Schopenhauer, Wilhelm Hegel, I just have no idea. Today I don't meet a single person who has anywhere near
So
that.
he introduced you to all the books.
Yes. Apart from introducing the books, his personality was such. His questioning, that is what which... so he almost became like I used to feel intimidated by him. I used to feel awed by him. I used to feel I used to feel like a nobody in front of him. Yeah.
So he inspired you, he stimulated you.
Yes,
to
for
say
sure.
that, to go into further reading, into philosophy, to question.
Correct.
So is there a defining moment in your life where you can say, this is when I knew I was interested in cinema, I want to go ahead and make cinema?
That moment came when, I used to have this habit of narrating the film. It could be a scene, it could be an expression of an actor, you know. It could be the way a song is shot. I used to have this habit of constantly narrating whatever I saw. And my friends used to be impressed with that, and they used to go to see the film. It is not like what you said.
Described it as well.
So slowly, I started believing over a period of time that almost I can do that better than what is being done. Though I loved the idea, something in the execution. So I used to edit out what I didn't like and add something else what I thought should be there. And when I narrated, I used to forget my edition only.
Oh, so basically you ended up narrating to your friends something that you created out of what you saw.
Yeah.
And they liked it, but when they saw
it, they thought mine was better than the earlier one, you know. And then at one point, this was in my final year in engineering, we all used to be in this one place called KCP Colony. All of students, took a house for rent. I still remember I was sitting there, and my friend called Mohan Krishna, he was combing his hair in front of the mirror, and out of the blue he said, if ever I make money, I will make a film with Ram Gopal as a director. So my word associated with the word director, that's my first memory, because even I consciously never thought I will become a director. I wanted to become a director.
So Ankur, you heard the word director first.
Word director, yeah.
And Mohan Krishna, your friend, says that
Yeah.
if I have money enough, I'll make Ram Gopal.
Yeah, correct.
What did your friends call you in school?
Ram Gopal.
In college?
College also same.
Ram Gopal.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, sir, after college and before you actually decided on one particular, okay, I'm going to make a film, or I'm going to join the film industry as an assistant director or whatever, what jobs did you do? I mean, I've heard so much about you. You planned to go to Nigeria.
Yeah.
You got into certain
Correct.
fights. And
See, immediately after my engineering, my grandfather got me a job in the construction of Taj Krishna Hotel in Banjara Hills, as site engineer.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no clue about engineering. I was a very bad student. But on recommendation, Mr. G.V. Krishna Reddy, because he knows my grandfather, he gave that job, so which was paying me some 800 rupees salary at that time. So
Which year was
this was, I think, roughly 85, 86, I would think, you know. And then when I was working, there's a very tough supervisor called, supervising engineer called Krishna Rao. So it was very difficult to escape work, and I hate work. You know, I was very, very dishonest with my
You hate that work.
Yeah, whatever, yeah. And then I was deputed to look at a small construction activity happening in Novapan factory, which was in Patanchar. So that also belongs to Mr. Krishna Reddy only. So that was a big break for me, because no one was there to supervise me of what I am doing. So in Novapan factory, where I used to start working on a script. And this and that, and that is where I actually wrote the very beginnings of Ratri and Shiva.
what about this plan to go to Nigeria or to start a video?
Then what happened is, I was in love with this person who was my sister's friend called Ratna. So once I came out of engineering, we immediately got married, and obviously a lot of pressure because my father was not earning much, and my money was obviously 800 is nothing at the time. So I was under pressure to do something, but because I was such a film obsessed guy, I constantly, every chance I get, I used to go to see a film, in which my wife used to hate for a good reason. And then she realized one day that it's not going to happen here. And her father is in Nigeria. So she managed to get me a job there, which was paying maybe some 4,000 a month, which was a very big jump compared to what I was having, yeah. And I also gave up, but in this same time period, I was actually trying to meet, I actually met Suresh Babu, Mr. Ramanadu's son. I met Ramoji Rover. I met Sashibhushan, who was the Sardi studio thing. But all of them, and all of this happened because of my father. Because my father was working as sound engineer and he knows them. And very reluctantly, with embarrassment, he used to arrange a meeting because he thought they will laugh. They will laugh at him. So all of them were polite to me in the context because of who I am, but none of them really showed any. So I thought it's not going to happen. So then when my wife came up with this offer, I thought I'll go to Nigeria and go there, and then I kind of will work and earn money and come and make a film for myself. That was my idea. You know? And in the context of this happening, one friend of mine called Naidu, he was taking me to get a driver's license, international driver's license, is one of the documents required to travel abroad and to get a job, something like that. So en route, he stopped near a video library in Lal Bahadur Stadium, near that, you know. And that was the first time I saw a video library. So that belongs to a friend of this guy. So those days, they were just coming up. We never had a VCR. So I have no connection to video at that time. So when that guy was talking, when I was watching all this, I suddenly realized, what if I started a video library? You know? Because I thought I know more about films than anyone else, and that will be the USP of mine, because I was listening to the video library guy talking to my friend, and I thought he knows jack shit about anything, and I have more knowledge than him. And overnight, I decided to start a video library and drop my plans to go to Nigeria. And obviously, my wife...
Video engineering, and then you were part of the construction, and then you shifted to another construction, and then you decided to go to Nigeria. And all this happened without your interest, without your knowledge?
No.
Because of somebody's... And suddenly, overnight, you decide that, you know, since I know more, I can start...
I decided on the shop. Not in overnight.
As in, when that happened, obviously the entire family went against saying...
More than... See, my family, I think, almost gave up on me much before, you know.
I was about to ask you.
But Ratna was so angry, I mean, which is understandable. Because after all what she did, and this guy... And I didn't have a rupee in my pocket to start a video library. That's another point.
Now, how do you manage?
Yeah, so... My father also was coming almost close to retirement at that time. So he had... one of my uncles, he gave him a shop in Amirpet without so-called pagadi or deposit. You know? So my father had plans to start some kind of apple juice or some juice center for his retirement working. I went and asked my father for that shop. It was started video library. My father looked at me. And but of course, at least that's a place. I said, just give it to me for 2 months, and if it doesn't work, then you can take it back. And then my cousins, some friends in the colony, I took loans of 500 rupees, 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, all like that. Around 9 to 10 people, I managed to get a capital of 20,000 rupees. And then there was some guy who my father knows, and I trusted him, and he sold his video cassettes, and half of them were not working because there was some fake. So they don't go into the VCR. So my 20,000 capital became 10,000.
Oh God.
On the very start, even before the thing started. But I started. I started almost my first look of my shop in Amirpet. There was I mean, I don't remember the exact measurements. It's about 20 feet by 10 feet. And in one corner of the shelf, there are these mini cassettes. That's all. Everything else was blank. Because I didn't have money to put anything. But I started the shop.
What is the shop called?
Movie house. Yeah. And then once it started, everybody picked it a massive failure because it doesn't have content and there is no parking area there, X and Y, also all kinds of things. But my calculation was there were at least 20 people I know at that time who owns VCRs. Okay. So I thought they will come to me and 10 rupees per cassette and 200 rupees per day, 6,000 per month. That almost was my operating cost of the rent and blah, blah, blah. And then once it started, within 1 month, I reached 100 cases per day. But none of the 20 people came.
Oh, somebody else.
Somebody else came. So I think that was the first flop I made. Because see, the success was by default, who I was not counting on.
Okay.
And the failure was intentional. So because if I knew that these 20 people won't come, I would have never started the shop. That's the whole point, you know.
So in another interview, you used words about yourself. You said, your parents thought you were a useless bum, that you had no objectives. You had a fascination with bullies, and you're a loner. But I love this line who says, I am a loner who lives away from myself, and I have an obsession of studying myself and others, and that is the source of motivation as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
How does that become a source?
Yeah, why? Because, see, eventually all of us are living in a state of interaction.
Yep.
What I feel and what you feel is different. So I can, in an interaction, I can alienate you and be judgmental upon you.
Yep.
But the day I develop the ability to see myself through your eyes, I will be more objective.
Can you repeat that, sir?
See, in effect, what I'm saying, if you and me are having a conflict, and why will I have a conflict? Because I feel righteous, that I know and you don't know.
Yep.
So I'm judgmental about it. But when I develop the ability to see me through your eyes, that becomes balance and that becomes objective. Your objective way of looking at it compared to being subjective. Yeah. So that gives you a deeper understanding of human beings, deeper understanding of conflicts, deeper understanding of incidents, So that's what, which makes me create such very clearly etched characters.
So basically, there's another thing you said, sir, in addition to this judgment and conflict, you said, I understand emotions more than I feel them.
Yeah.
So
actually,
conflicts and emotions.
Yeah, correct. I mean, it's almost it's coming the same way because the moment I feel an emotion, instead of getting controlled or getting affected by it, I think about why is this affecting me.
Okay.
See, thinking is logic, it's rational. Rationality and emotion never go hand in hand, because a lot of times I say there's a difference between worrying and thinking. People barely understand the difference. Worrying makes you go in circles. Yep. Thinking gives you a solution.
Yep.
Or it can tell you that there's no solution. Then you have to bear with it, the consequence, So in the context of that is when I don't take myself seriously. I don't take myself as righteous. I don't take myself as only guy who knows. But the moment you stop taking yourself seriously, you don't become emotional anymore. Yeah.
Okay. So, how many films as an assistant director, sir?
You see, that's a tough question for the reason. See, technically, first time I started was in a film called Collector Garabai.
Yep.
Okay. I was fourth or fifth assistant or something. But I used to, lose the clapboard somewhere out of my, Mathimarbu, whatever. I used to lose the continuity book, where we have to keep writing what clothes this actor wore in this scene, what was he doing and all that. So I used to be very forgetful by nature in that kind of a context. Whatever doesn't interest me, I forget immediately. So my senior assistants was very upset and then they stopped giving me work because they can't trust me with work.
Okay.
So then I used to hang around. So if I used to hang around the set, I don't know if that considers I'm working as an assistant.
Okay.
So which is the point? Okay. Hanging around the set is not working.
Fair enough.
Then after that I did this film called Raugarelu. That is technically more or less the same thing. But by the time I became very close to Surendra, Nageshwara Garu's son-in-law. And in the course of Kaltukara, I met Nagarjuna. And I used to be more like I became like a friend. I became like they enjoy my company. They enjoy listening to me. Venkat, Nagarjuna, Surendra, all these people. So that actually, the context of Ravgari paved the basic foundation for Shiva to happen.
So during that time when you said you were speaking with Mr. Nagarjuna or Mr. Venkat, how would you address him and how would he address you?
I used to call him Nag. Nag, Venkat and Surendra, they used to call me Ramu. Yeah. And in fact, at the time, I don't know why you asked this question, a lot of people used to believe that I was very arrogant. I sit with my crossed legs, and those days it was unheard of, you know.
In front of,
And in front of such big people. All of them had this very slave-like body language.
Holding their hands.
And not that I disrespected. I mean, because of my voracious reading and because of whatever I was as a person in college, you know, and that is a natural personality which came in. I did not alter it for the sake of somebody else.
You were not trying to impress anyone else. You're just being yourself.
Correct. So, but at the end of the day, they will react to what I'm speaking, not how I'm behaving. Yeah.
Sir, I remind myself of this incident that you said, you know, that you went with a gang of blokes and you fight somebody else. They outnumbered you guys and everybody left and you just stood.
Yeah.
And that's when you said you understood a fantastic mentality that you use in your gangster film.
Yes.
What is that?
See, the point is like we were in a group went to this place and suddenly these people ran out with lathis and rods and all that, you know. Some of my guys were fighting back, some of them ran. Okay, I was just looking at the main guy, you know.
The opponent, just looking at him.
And why was it doing that? You see, it's very difficult for the human mind how fast it can think, how fast it can absorb information and make a decision on what to do. It's impossible for me to, whether I consciously thought about it, conscious and subconscious are two different things which you can't really. Now, I would like to believe I would not want to run because I don't like running. You know, that somewhere hurts my pride.
Running away.
Yeah. Second thing is, if I attack, I know I will be outnumbered. I will be beaten up. Yeah. So the moment you don't run, other guy gets confused.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, after the main guy has to beat up all of them, and he's not coming to me. He's just shouting here and there and watching and not looking into my eyes.
And you're looking at him?
I'm looking at him. And I'm keeping calling his name, you know. So then meanwhile some teachers or whatever felt and that the thing got broke up. So my point is, when the moment they asked me the next day about this, I said, see, if you look at it, if National Geographic or something, and when the panther is running after the deer, and the deer suddenly stops, the panther also stops because it's so unexpected. It just doesn't know what to do. So any kind of an unexpected behavior is one. It kind of confuses people. Second thing it does is the amount of confidence a person has scares you. You know, it just reeks of confidence if neither are you running off. Okay, attacking I know, because running you can run behind. Attack you can hit back. Yeah. Standing there you don't know what to do.
Standing and calling out the name.
Yeah. So lot of these experiences, maybe this is one I'm talking about. In Vijayawada, I used to study the way this Vangaveti Radha gang and Ranga gang and this Nehru's gang, I used to know those people, the way they used to plan to beat up or these kind of things, you know. I used to understand the psychologists, I used to understand the strategies and all that.
So for you, that was the intriguing part, trying to understand the way they think.
They think.
Yeah. Rather than the way they feel.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, you've done Shiva, that was a benchmark film. You were talking about Step Freeze. You worked with giants at that time.
I'll tell you one instance in college. There was this Shailaja theatre in Vijayawada. Okay? Now there's one guy called Pratap Reddy, who was a very tough guy. And I used to look up to him as a hero, you know. And I told him, I wanted the Jaisudha still in the display board they put in the theatre, you know. And I told him, if you can break the glass and get me that photo. I asked him, you know. And I said, I'll do it. So this I asked him in the hostel, okay. Now because for me he was very big, he is the biggest as a dada, okay. When we went to Shailaja theatre, And this guy, he was, obviously there was not much people in that particular time period, and he just looked here and there, and he tried to break the glass. So someone came from here, hey, Arra, and that guy took lathi and tava. He gave 3 hits, and this guy started running out.
Oh God.
So I didn't realize the guy who owns Shailaja Theatre will be a much bigger dada than the guy who was trying to break the glass.
So,
You know, so the difference in what, who is bigger than who is bigger. Like, you know, once we were all put in a lockup after some kind of a group fight. So there we all used to plan for such a long time how to beat, where to catch that guy, blah, blah, blah. And I heard the inspector talking to somebody when I was in the lockup. Siddhajan pillar kottukuntu తీసుకొచ్చి లోపలేసాం అంటే all of us become so small in 1 second.
So all your master planning and all that
Yeah.
didn't matter. He was
so
just
then I realized, no, this inspector will be nothing compared to the commissioner of police. Vijayawada is nothing compared to Hyderabad. Hyderabad is nothing compared to Delhi. India is nothing compared to the US. So all of them are like relative powers. So don't take anything as one absolute, is what I learned from my experience.
So Einstein wrote the general and special theory of
Yeah,
relativity.
yeah.
You came up with a new form
Yes,
of it.
yes.
So a lot of people talk about the cinema and all that. I have a few other questions. Straight away, sir, what is, in your opinion, what is story, screenplay, and what the hell is direction? What does the director do?
Coming to the first part, the story, I feel, is one of the most overrated things in cinema. When people keep talking, critics keep talking, because I don't ever believe a film is an emotional experience. Okay, it scares you, or it thrills you, or it can entertain you. It can make you laugh. But yes, there has to be why it's happening. There is a throw. It is a device to create the emotion. It's not the story by itself. All 150 films we make, let's say in Telugu or Hindi or wherever at that time, everyone believes it's a good story. Why will they make the film?
Yeah.
But did it happen the way they thought the story was by the time it came out is a $1 million question.
Yep.
So I can say this particular character of a lawyer, that lawyer wants to do this and that, and the story sounds interesting. When you see the lawyer's face, you might get turned off.
Okay.
That happens only in cinema. But that you can't make out at this point of time. So that is some completely separate, whether you call talent or whatever you call.
Yep.
Okay. But yes, of course, I mean, if I come to Shiva, I just narrated the opening sequence of Shiva, like the crane slowly comes down and pans, and the wheel comes and stops, and the guy gets down. I used to narrate it like this. So by the end of the opening sequence, Surendra already believed that I'm a terrific director, because I could make him see it.
And you're able
I'm
to
not
transmit
narrating
the
a story.
emotion to him.
I don't know who those guys are. I don't know why they're beating up this guy. There is no story at all, even if you take it like a short film.
Yeah. Someone came and did something.
But I created an emotional high in Surendra, which is what cinema does.
Okay.
So in the context of that, now see, a director is not a primary artist in the sense of the word. There is a primary arts are like music. Somebody is doing music, somebody is writing dialogue, somebody is acting, somebody is writing lyric, somebody is photographing, somebody is doing all these things. All the primary arts is amalgamating them into a coherent whole, so that it creates some kind of an emotional impact. So it is coming through his channel. Though I am not a music director, it's my taste of music I am taking from the music director. It's a character I imagine in my mind, is the performance I'm taking from the actor. So it is my taste, and the way I amalgamate them, I put them together, the various arts, to create one particular art through which the audience are feeling the emotion. That's what my definition of a director is.
So basically, at the end of the day, for you, it might be a short, might be a scene, might be an episode, maybe the entire film, you believe that it's the transmission or radiation of the emotion that you want to the viewer.
Correct, absolutely.
So, director of photography, cinematographer, cameraman, how important is he for you? Over the years, what?
Like director of cinematography?
Yeah.
See, I think in today's time as we are speaking today, I find everybody, almost all departments, including the director, are obsolete. The way we define them. That doesn't mean there is no central figure who is responsible, for that, Now, a lot of people feel the director is basically about saying start, camera, action, cut, and he makes some decision on the edit, somebody else is editing, and the photographer is photographer. But actually what happens is, people are reacting to two fundamental points. One is actor's performance, which I think is the most important, and second is editing. Editing is again two different counts. Editing is not a technical job of cutting it and joining it, whether it's on Avid or any other machine for that matter. It's about you are flowing the performances in the context of to feel an emotion. That editing sometimes can be done by this guy who's called the editor. Sometimes a director can tell that. Sometimes an assistant director can suggest. Okay? Sometimes it might happen beyond even the script. Or the reverse, otherwise. If these two are correct, photography doesn't make a difference. Nothing makes a difference after that.
Did you feel this from the beginning, or is it
maybe not from the beginning? Over the last 10 years, I'm feeling that, because I realized, because see, also the technology. Today, I can change any kind of lighting in the post. Anything can be done. Okay, I'll give you an example. So if you and me are two actors, okay, what we are speaking is the content. What we are talking to each other is the content. And now, let us say at the end of it, you get upset with me when you walk out. So the finality of what is required in the scene is Shrikanth to get away angrily and go off. As long as these two parameters are fixed, whether you put the camera here or there, underneath, but this light is there, some other light is, it won't make any difference. It is just an interpretation of that one particular man. Okay. It doesn't make a difference, because all kinds of things are there. If you go to a shop, if you want a coffee cup, there are 100 varieties of coffee cups. All of them will serve the same. Your taste will be different, my taste will be someone else's taste will be different. So photography, the way that guy wants to do it is his taste. That doesn't mean that is the only thing which will work there. Like like when they took so-called natural lighting or not using lights at all, which is happening at this point of time, it doesn't make a difference.
Nowadays, you shoot in broad daylight, you can make it into night.
Anything.
The art director or the production designer, that craft's relevance from your day one to now.
See, that also a similar answer I'll give, because there are two things. If we are sitting in a room and we are talking, and if the audience's attention is on what we are talking, I don't want the art direction to draw their attention to it. But it could be possible in the scene, it is required actually to impress the audience in the context of what's happening. If an actor says, just look at my house, it's so beautiful, so then the house has to look beautiful. Or at least in the context, should not look beautiful, based on the context of the reaction. So that is when, if your attention is drawn to it, that's my point.
But because one particular film of yours that I really loved when it came to a couple of points of art direction was when J.D. Chakrabarti and Urmila Matondkar are walking in a market. Both are walking in a market. I can see a couple of junior artists, and I can see, they're trying to avoid the stench. And you can see all the vegetables, the rotten vegetables thrown around. And there's a fight sequence. In the background, there is this funeral procession going on. And no matter, everybody is stalled, but that funeral procession doesn't stop. So there are a few layers that can be added. That
I'm not sure can be called art direction. That's what I call atmosphere.
Okay. How do you...
See, atmosphere is you're creating a sense of reality, where your fictional characters are in the background, what you normally happen to see many times. Suddenly the emotion becomes real because of where they are, because you connect to the background. That is not technical art. Art direction for me is about you creating a falsified atmosphere in the name of create. For example, someone told me, Maniratnam, even if he shoots a garbage can, whatever it's called, he will light it up beautifully and he will show it the way it is. So art direction is that. You're trying to beautify a natural thing. That's
for your atmosphere is?
For my atmosphere is to make it look believable, because it's happening in an atmosphere, which an atmosphere will be much more to do with the people rather than the background.
So next, about lyrics when it comes to a song. Lyrics. How much do you work and contribute over the time, in the beginning, mid-time, and now?
Yeah, I mean, see, in Shiva time, for example, I was very insistent on Sitaram Shastri because Annapunas is always used Vetu Sundaramurthy. But why I wanted him is because I heard some of his songs which he wrote in Pedavamshi Garu's film, and I liked the colloquial lines, and there's like a very definite, sharp thought many times. So when he wrote this Botany Partam song after they agreed, so finally we took a compromise that he will write 2 songs, and the main songs like like what they think is commercial songs like Kiss Me Wrong Number, Anando Brahma, those will be written by Vetu. Now, interestingly, I was insistent on every word what Sitaram Shastri was writing. I was particular about the word, the phrase, where it comes, and blah blah blah. And even till today, I didn't listen to the songs of the other 3 songs because I know it won't make a difference, whatever the lyrics are.
So out of the 5 situations, you chose the 2.
You chose 2. I chose 2 because it's important for me in the context of what's happening in the film.
And the rest you're like, whatever.
Rest of it doesn't make a difference. So I thought Vetri should know more than me about what is good in that. Yeah.
So when it comes to music, in the beginning, I mean, Maestro Ilayaraja or A.R. Rahman, you worked with so many people. And now you've started singing, you've started writing lyrics, and you're working with new music directors and all that stuff. Initially, the musical scales were different. Nowadays, I see that, especially with films like Veerappan, where it goes there is a particular new kind of a rhythm that comes to you. It's a complex question, sir, because my interaction with you, you've heard so many films, I've seen so many films, but heard so many of the background scores. You feel so inspired by all of them, and nowadays there's this liking for the 6/8 rhythm or the new rhythm instead of it being the regular 4/4. How does music, silence, dialogue, silence, how does this titrate?
See, I am not sure. I mean, like when you say 6/8, I don't know what 6/8 is. I have no idea. Okay, I'm not a musician, and my earlier films, I'm talking about 15 years back, would have been greatly influenced by my memory of the background scores I used to hear in my teens. The main inspiration was that, of course, Ilayaraja, definitely, R.D. Burman, and things like that, and maybe some pop groups like ABBA, things like that. But lately, maybe in the last 10-15 years, my songs are more by instinct. I will get a tune myself, though I don't know what it is. For example, this Veerappan thing, I was just going in the car, it just came to me.
I know.
And
I remember you recording it in the voice recorder and sending it across.
That's something happening only in the last 10 years. So I don't know that will make me called a composer or whatever. And then when I give it to the music composer, so probably he will set it right and maybe the things and that. But I am very sensitive to music. It definitely gives me an emotion. Okay. It tells me what this, what do you call, it's like in the background score when I tell my people what to put. So music directors get surprised to see my precision of my brief, of what exactly I want there.
And then once you see their work, you know, okay, what to do with it, whether you need an addition or you can maybe remove a few layers and all. You're pretty smart with that.
Yes, yeah.
So
that was one phase, and now since the last 1 year, again, I'm somehow feeling a kind of reluctance towards background score. Again, not that I don't want to use it at all, but I just want to. I feel like using it lesser and lesser now.
As time goes by.
And I also realized the more stronger the performances are, the more realistic the film is, background score actually spoils it. Yeah.
Any possibility for you to get back to Maestro Ilayaraja or A.R. Rahman for music?
Yeah. Because I am no longer fascinated, and I don't think that is going to make any difference, because one is I feel I am not Ilayaraja, I am not Rahman, but I know exactly what kind of music I want, and that I can get from anybody.
So it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Editing, when you visualize a scene, have you seen the entire scene and you're just trying to shoot it, Have you seen it entirely?
Most of the time, I already have the edit in my mind.
Okay.
Almost, But that doesn't mean it will be edited exactly the way it is.
Yep.
I might change my mind later depending upon how the rush is looking, or I get a new idea, or whatever you call, But I have very precision edit in my mind. Before I start the scene, I want to start it and how it should follow.
So it's very clear. So editing for you, inspiration. Some people in the past in English cinema, Telugu, Hindi cinema, who really inspired you. And
I was very impressed with the editing pattern of Steven Spielberg, mostly, because a lot of people also, there's a very subtle difference between screenplay and editing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are actually shooting, if you have an edit in mind, or even if you're writing, I feel Steven Spielberg does that. I think in the writing itself, he already has an edit in mind. Okay, I can see that happening in the context. To illustrate an example, in Jaws, there's a scene when Roy Scheider is sitting on the edge of the boat and is throwing fish and is having a discussion with Robert Shaw, who's in the cabin, inside the cabin. Okay. And he's upset with him and they're talking something, and as he's putting it, and suddenly the shark comes out. And he cut it closer, it comes in, it just with the blank expression, it just stays like that, Roy Scheider. And cut to, in a suggestion of Robert Shaw, he slowly comes walking inside, says, we need a bigger boat. Cut to an extreme top angle of the boat, you see the shark going like that, and in comparison to the size of the boat, And then cut to Richard Dreyfuss, he says 15 feet, and it till down. 20, and pan to Robert Shaw. In the face, you suddenly see the confidence slipping. So this is like a super precision, already designed kind of a thing. And this has to come at the writing side itself, because we need a bigger board is a line written for that specific shot, which is going to cut after the line.
So it becomes a conglomeration and amalgamation.
You can't really take out what is working there.
So screenplay, writing, dialogue, shot division.
Everything is already thought about in Steven Spielberg's mind.
Sir, last couple of things that are left. One is, your genres of interest over time has generally been gangster films, horror films, and films nowadays with a certain amount of eroticism. But I would like to stick to, why are you so attracted to gangster films or horror films? What is your fascination?
See, I basically like anything which has got a hard intensity in it. I don't like normal people; they bore me. Okay. I don't like rom-coms. I don't like everyday people or anything. Gangsters are like rebels. Like even if you look at, and I don't think it's uncommon, because if you look at normal people, the news media, they always talk about scams and killings and everything. That is a general interest, because all human beings by instinct, they are wild. Okay, they are rebellious. They are the people who don't want to be controlled. But in society, the legal system, the religion, the value system puts them in a cage. So the only way they can live out their fantasy is to hear about them or to see them in a film.
To read a book.
So because I am a very instinctive person, so I get attracted to that.
Sir, with this, a few more questions, and I'll get to the big crux. One is, there's so many assistant directors who worked under you or with you, to put it. Now they're huge, big directors. What is your interaction with them even today?
See, first of all, I never thought they worked on me. I never really had any kind of a specific emotion towards them, except for that they were serving a purpose of mine at that time period. It is possible I thought of some people more who never made it. I thought of some people less who made it much bigger than what I thought. But beyond the people I am working with in the present, I do not have any connection with anybody unless somewhere I bump into them or in a specific context. Otherwise, I don't think about them.
The attachment factor to...
Absolutely zero.
Zero.
Yeah.
Okay. Sir, what is the difference between the work ethic, the culture, the atmosphere, the business, the market from the Hindi world, that is Bollywood, if I may say, and the Telugu film industry? How different? Because you're one of the rare guys who's done both.
There's absolutely no difference, because eventually both of them are supplying so-called content to the same mind, same people. Yeah.
Sir, one, 3, 4 questions, but one is Madam Sridevi. She's no more, but how much of a fascination do you have for her? How much of affection? What has been her
See,
contribution?
Amitabh Bachchan and Sridevi were two people, are the only two people I ever thought of them as stars. The reason for that being, I stood in line to buy a ticket, which is, except for that, I can't see any other reason. Of course, I might have liked many other actors, many other actresses, but they were at the top of the pyramid, you know.
Top.
Yeah. So obviously, Bachchan for his power, for his dialogue, for his intensity, and Sridevi Garu for her thighs, for her face and for her body. And she was like a masturbatory fantasy for me in my college days, you know. And I think that's a natural extension of what I feel. But once I met her, when I was talking to her, I developed another kind of respect for her and for professionalism. I actually managed to really realize her talent only when I met her. As an actor, I'm talking about. Yeah.
Sir,
Otherwise, she was a sex symbol for me in my when I was not meeting.
so when
her.
you say actor, I mean, you said, you know, one of the most important things for your films is if the actors can do a great job, then most of the work is done, then the background music need not be much and all that. So you've given so many actors, I mean, hundreds of actors the first opportunity, I included, and so many actors who've cropped up out of your films. What do you look for in an actor?
See, I look for something what I call a screen presence. A screen presence is something I define as a face you won't easily forget.
Okay.
That for me is one of the primary things which attracts me, because once that is there, a very great performer or not so good also can be made to work, because a very great performer can take it beyond what I imagine. Otherwise, also he can deliver to what I imagine. So when I praise an actor, I do that not because he's done what I asked him to do, but he's gone beyond my imagination.
So, what is a good actor in your opinion? I mean, you almost half explained it and said, when do you generate, when does respect towards an actor come for you?
I mean, what I just said, that when the actors sometimes take it so seriously, he becomes a character, he almost starts living it. Like I felt that about Satya in, Bhikkhu Matre in Satya, I felt that about you in Coronavirus and Murder, you know. So where the actor is almost looks like the character even before coming into the shot. Most actors come in front of the camera, and only when the director says start camera action, they start performing. This breed of actors, like what you did in Murder, I feel they, even as they enter the thing, they're already the character. It doesn't seem much, but it's a lot. Because he starts thinking, he starts behaving, he actually starts feeling. Now that requires a very special kind of a mind and preparation and passion more than anything else. I wouldn't say hard work. Hard work is something I don't understand what the word is. It's passion. It's about genuine love for the art they have.
And once that is there, obviously the person will work hard.
Will
or
work
whatever.
hard, yeah.
And it'll actually seem easy for him because he's enjoying that.
Yeah, correct.
So, are you able to easily identify, you see a person, in your opinion, he's got screen presence or she's got screen presence or not? You can identify that, sir?
I mean, see, that might differ from people.
That's
I
what, in your opinion.
Yeah. In my opinion, of course.
So, how do you believe an actor can enhance the screen presence he or she has? Is it possible for the actor to work and enhance the screen presence?
I think by working on the look.
Okay.
The look will make a lot of difference. The look and the body language.
Okay.
You know, it's in the way look is it's like, you know, whether there's a hair or some kind of a thing, like the glasses or the kind of clothes he wears. Like when sometimes a person walks into a room, something about him catches your attention. So I think it's a combination of all these factors. And then the voice, you know, the way he uses the voice in terms of drawing attention. Like, you know, there's one person, for example, he's not an actor, like Shekhar Kapoor, the director, he just talks very, Now, because he does that, you have no choice but to be very keenly listening to him.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, now that's a trait. So all that I think is a part of that.
Sir, apart from Mr. Bachchan and Madam Sridevi, who's no more, the actors that you've worked with, whom you believe are the male actors, who are phenomenal.
Unless you ask me to
I'm
praise you.
not, I'm not existent. Sir. I'm not existent, please.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say, just like Mr. Bachchan is an actor. What I kind of zapped about him is he can convey an emotion without any change in the facial muscles or giving an expression. Just with a blank look, he can convey emotion,
Yeah.
which I've not seen any actor who can do that. No. A case in point is Nishabd. He's just looking without any change, visible change in his face, and I feel the emotion and tears come to my eyes just to see him. That comes partly from an extraordinary sensitivity the man has in his own heart. And apart from that, he has it draws possibly from his experiences, not necessarily happened to him, from what he heard or from what he has seen, maybe in some other film, some other actor. But I think he owns it up and he feels it from inside. So in that context, I would think he's the best. And also, one more thing is, realistic acting and cinematic acting are two different things. You know, I can expect a very realistic actor, but I don't know if he can pull off something like Amitabh Bachchan talking to a mirror in Amara Gaur Anthony. To make a ridiculous scene look believable, I think it requires a very special kind of talent. Yeah.
Mr. Nana Patekar or Mr. Paresh Rawal and a few others that you believe have a great skill in addition to, of course, Mr. Bachchan.
Yeah. Paresh also comes in the sense, in that sense. The difference between Paresh and Bachchan, I feel, Amitabh Bachchan, after more than 40 years in the industry, I don't believe for 1 second he relaxes in front of the camera. He takes it as a first shot he is doing in his life, which I don't think is Paresh. Paresh has lost interest long time back. But when he was in his full form, Paresh also has this ability, might not have the larger-than-life quality of Mr. Bachchan, but in terms of the so-called cinematic actor, like when I did this film called Money, I asked Paresh, there's a situation where you have to desperately stop the people from killing your wife because your name is going to come up in the case if that happens. And you don't know what to do. And I also don't know what you should do. So you said, you do whatever you feel like. And I started the camera and I said, action. Hello, you said. Now, that instinct a realistic actor will never have. Yeah. That is what is called cinematic acting. Okay. It works. It works in the theatre, Yeah. So acting is also about, like I said, a very stupid, ridiculous, non-realistic thing to make it look believable or entertaining at best. Yeah.
Actresses, other than Madam Sridevi.
See, coming to actresses, I also loved Jaisudgar in my early years as much. In fact, I was more in love with Jaisudgar actually. Sridevi was sex symbol and she was my love. Okay. And because she also had that incredible dignity and the kind of face, her eyes, and her lover voice, And later years, of course, Urmila, because Urmila had that oomph, or what a factor, and that innocence, beauty, and at the same time, an intensity. And she could do roles as versatile as a Rangila or a Satya or a Bhoot at the time. Okay? Yeah, likewise.
Any actors that you'd want to work with?
Not really. Like I said, now I only look for people who suit the role. I'm more in the character, and I'm looking for a person who will be nearest to my imagination of the character. So right now, I really don't have that intention of.
Sir, in your opinion, cinema is a collective; it's a teamwork, and you were making a mention of an ad of some Roscoe films. Can you share that with us?
Yeah. See, the point is when people see a film, in its completeness. Though the titles are there, which are kind of distinguishing art director so and so, director so and so, cameraman so and so, the truth is, an average person can never really know why that thing is working. If something is working, you might give the credit to the director because director's name is mentioned. In reality, that might not be the director's idea. That might be the actor. That might be something else which happened, some other suggestion, or maybe the cutting point from the previous scene. It can be that emotion is caused because of that. So, the number of people who work in a in an environment, and each of them contributing in small bits and pieces, and all of them coming together, which no one can really take the credit of the entire thing, on a primary level is one. On the secondary level, then there is a question of if the DOP assistance, and there's a film emulsion, and there is a color coding or toning happening, and there are so many other things which is happening inside that department once again. So I saw this one ad in American Cinematographer for like Eastman Kodak. It's Roscoe film it is. So it's ad of Roscoe. So they wrote, recently cinematographer William Fraker was quoted as saying, filmmaking is a tremendous team effort, and Roscoe is proud to be one of the team.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So nice to hear from
because
you.
Roscoe also you can't discredit. If that is not there.
We're proud of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So my last question, sir. From Shiva to Sarkar to so much today and to the future, who is Ram Gopal Verma?
Ram Gopal Verma is who he is now at this moment, because eventually we as people are what we think, what we feel at any specific time, which might change tomorrow, which might have been different yesterday, 5 years back, 10 years later. So any person, what he is, I think is what he is at that precise moment.
What are you?
Yeah. What am I now?
In the sense, what's running through your head? What do you want to do? How is your
I'm just
energy? How are
having
you?
the best of my time. I'm living my life every second in exactly the way I want, and I'm cherishing each and every second of my life, including this interview.
Thank you so much, sir. And
Yeah.
I've done this before, but I'm going to now, after this session is out, would rather call you Don RGV than anything else, because somebody said in an international magazine, and so many comments saying that you're the most successful maverick. I do not want to touch controversy here, but for me, I believe you're the wolf of cinema. If there's a wolf of Wall Street, then you're the wolf of cinema. But I think the right thing that suits you is Don RGV. I'm really grateful for this session, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like and subscribe Eagle Media Works.